Jake Morrison sat in his chair and watched the alien creatures argue about humans again. The big crystal being called humans stupid monkeys who should not be in space. The tall gray one with 6 arms said human ships were made of junk and held together with tape. The floating brain thing laughed at human weapons and called them rock throwers. Jake had heard this same talk for 3 years now. Every day the aliens told humans they were too dumb for the Galactic Council. They said humans were primitive cave dwellers who got lucky and found space travel by accident. The aliens acted like they were so much better and smarter than everyone else. Dr. Lisa Carter sat next to Jake and rolled her eyes. She was the smartest human scientist in the galaxy, but these aliens treated her like a child. Commander Rick Hayes was on Jake's other side. He had fought in 20 space battles, but the aliens laughed at his uniform and called his weapons toys. The crystal alien kept talking. She said humans were too emotional and made bad decisions. She said they could not understand advanced technology or complex politics. The other aliens nodded and made their weird noises that meant they agreed. Jake looked at his tablet and typed a message. He sent it to every human in council space through their secret communication network. The message was simple. Pack your things and come home. Operation Quiet Exit starts now. Within 2 days, every human diplomat started packing their belongings. They did not make speeches or complain. They just quietly put their things in boxes and prepared to leave. Dr. Carter downloaded every piece of scientific data she could access from the alien computers. She copied research files and technical manuals onto her personal drives. Commander Hayes recalled all human ships from joint missions with alien fleets. He told his captains to return to human space immediately. The alien commanders were confused, but Hayes just said it was for routine maintenance. He did not tell them the ships would never come back. Human traders let their contracts expire without renewing them. They sold their remaining goods and closed their shops. Human teachers at alien schools finished their current lessons and submitted resignation letters. Human doctors at alien hospitals trained local replacements and transferred their patients. The aliens barely noticed at first. They were too busy congratulating themselves on their superior intelligence to pay attention to what humans were doing. When alien officials asked why humans were leaving their posts, the standard answer was always the same. Family emergency back home, need for vacation time. Equipment upgrades required. Jake Morrison spent his last week on the council station writing reports. He documented every insult and dismissive comment the aliens had made about humans. He recorded their laughter when human representatives tried to contribute ideas. He noted how they ignored human suggestions and then took credit when those same ideas worked. Lisa Carter finished copying the alien scientific databases and found something interesting. Many of their most advanced technologies had been improved by human modifications over the past 3 years. The aliens had not noticed that humans had been quietly fixing their broken systems and making their equipment work better. Rick Hayes discovered that human technicians had been maintaining critical systems throughout council space. Early warning networks along the galaxy's edge were mostly run by human crews. The aliens thought these jobs were beneath them, so they gave the dangerous and boring work to humans. On Jake's final day, he submitted a 1-page letter to the council president. The letter said humans were withdrawing from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. It thanked the aliens for the learning experience and wished them prosperity. The letter gave no reasons and made no complaints. The council president barely looked at the letter. He was a proud alien who thought humans were lucky to be allowed in the council at all. He figured humans had finally realized they did not belong with superior beings and were going back to their primitive world. Other aliens heard about the human withdrawal and laughed. They said humans had finally accepted their place as inferior creatures. Some aliens placed bets on how long it would take Earth to collapse without alien guidance. They thought humans would come crawling back within a year begging to rejoin the council, but humans did not go back to Earth. Jake Morrison and the last group of human diplomats boarded their ship and jumped to hyperspace. They met up with a massive fleet of human vessels that had been secretly gathering at a location far from alien space. The fleet contained thousands of ships filled with humans who had lived and worked throughout the galaxy. Scientists and engineers brought their research and knowledge. Military officers brought tactical information and star charts. Traders brought wealth and resources they had accumulated over years of commerce. Admiral Scott Turner commanded the Exodus fleet from his flagship. He was a brilliant military strategist who had been dismissed by aliens as a primitive warrior. Turner had spent months planning the complete evacuation of humans from known galactic space. Dr. Rachel Stone stood on the bridge of the lead science vessel. She had been working on advanced physics projects that aliens considered impossible. Her dimensional engineering research was about to prove them very wrong about human capabilities. The Exodus fleet jumped into hyperspace and vanished from the galaxy. They left behind empty human colonies and abandoned outposts. Every piece of important human technology and knowledge went with them. What remained were only basic structures and equipment that aliens could understand. Within a month, the only humans left in Council space were a few individuals on remote assignments who had not yet received recall orders. These stragglers were quietly extracted by stealth ships over the following weeks. The Galactic Council celebrated the departure of the primitive humans. They threw parties and made speeches about how the galaxy was now free from inferior beings. They congratulated themselves on maintaining the purity of advanced civilization. None of them noticed that critical systems throughout the galaxy had lost their primary maintenance crews. None of them realized that the improvements to their technology had been made by human hands and human minds. None of them understood that humans had been quietly holding their civilization together. The aliens were about to learn a very expensive lesson about the difference between intelligence and wisdom. They were about to discover what happened when they removed the foundation that supported their entire way of life, but for now they celebrated and felt superior. They had gotten exactly what they wanted: a galaxy without humans. 6 months after the humans left, Captain Zelfarin stared at his mining reports with growing confusion. The numbers made no sense. His Nexari mining ships were bringing in 23% less rare metals than before. The alien captain scratched his blue crystalline head and tried to understand. What had gone wrong? The mining operations were running perfectly, according to all their advanced sensors and quantum computers. Their ships were using the same locations and the same techniques they had always used. But somehow they were getting much less valuable materials from the asteroid fields. Zelfarin called his chief engineer to the bridge. The engineer was a proud Nexari who considered himself among the most advanced beings in the galaxy. His name was Kexther, and he had designed mining systems for 300 years. Our extraction rates have dropped significantly, Zelfarin told the engineer. Run full diagnostics on all mining equipment. Kexther spent 2 weeks checking every system. The quantum drills were working perfectly. The gravitational processors were operating at full capacity. The molecular separators were functioning exactly as designed. Yet the mining yields kept dropping. Finally, Kexther discovered something disturbing in the old maintenance logs. Human technicians had been working on the mining equipment for the past 4 years. The aliens had assumed humans were just doing basic maintenance work like cleaning and simple repairs, but the maintenance logs showed something different. The humans had been making small modifications to every piece of mining equipment. They had adjusted quantum field calibrations and modified extraction algorithms. They had even rebuilt some of the separators using what the logs called improvised components. These modifications make no sense, Kexther told his captain. The humans were using crude mechanical adjustments on our advanced quantum systems. It should have made everything work worse, not better. But when Kexther tried to reverse the human modifications, the mining yields dropped even further. The primitive mechanical adjustments had somehow made the sophisticated alien technology work much better than the original designs. Meanwhile, the Geltani collective was facing their own crisis. The Geltani were powerful psychic beings who shared thoughts across their entire species through a neural network. This network connected millions of Sheltani minds. Across hundreds of worlds, the network had been stable for thousands of years, but now it was developing problems. Entire sections of the psychic web were going offline without warning. Billions of Sheltani were suddenly cut off from the collective consciousness hive node. Kilthara was responsible for maintaining the network infrastructure. She sent repair teams to the failing relay stations, but they could not identify the problem. The bio-neural interfaces were functioning normally according to all their tests. The repair teams found detailed maintenance records left behind by human technicians. A man named Ken Walker had been the chief maintenance supervisor for 17 relay stations. His team had worked on the most dangerous interfaces that other species could not safely approach. The maintenance logs showed that Walker and his humans had been doing far more than basic upkeep. They had been translating Sheltani psychic patterns into mechanical control systems. They had built hybrid interfaces that combined alien neural technology with human electronic components. "This is impossible," Kilthara reported to the hive mind. "Council, humans have no psychic abilities. They should not be able to understand our neural patterns at all. Yet these maintenance logs show they were manipulating our most complex consciousness interfaces. When Sheltani engineers tried to replicate the human modifications, they failed completely. The hybrid systems required an understanding of both psychic energy and mechanical engineering that no Sheltani possessed. The humans had bridged two completely different types of technology in ways that seemed impossible, but the most serious discovery came from the galaxy's outer rim. For 2 centuries, the ancient enemy called the Devourers had been contained beyond the edge of known space. The Devourers were a hive-minded species that consumed entire worlds, stripping them of all life and resources. A network of early warning stations and containment fields kept the Devourers locked in the empty space between galaxies. These stations were located in the most dangerous and remote regions where few species wanted to work. Chief Engineer Ben Ross had managed Warning Post Delta 7 for 4 years. When his replacement arrived, the new alien technician found something that shocked him to his core. The containment systems had been completely rebuilt using human modifications. The replacement was a Kethmori engineer named Velthan. The Kethmori were an ancient species who considered themselves the masters of defensive technology. Velthan had designed containment systems for 500 years, but Ross had improved the containment field strength by over 300%. The detection range had been extended by 12 light years. The power efficiency had been increased by 40%. All of this had been accomplished using what the logs described as basic tools and improvised components. "This is impossible," Velthan reported to Kethmori Command. "The human used hammers and welding torches to modify our most advanced quantum field generators. By all the laws of physics, his changes should have destroyed the equipment. Instead, Ross had created the most powerful containment system in the galaxy. His technical manuals were written in simple human language that focused on practical results rather than theoretical explanations. The manuals worked, but Velthan could not understand why they worked. Similar reports began coming in from across the galaxy. Human technicians had been quietly improving alien systems for years. They had used crude tools and simple materials to enhance the most sophisticated technology in known space, the Valorian crystal. Beings discovered that their harmonic resonance engines had been fine-tuned by human mechanics who should not have been able to hear the necessary frequency ranges. The engines were now producing 20% more power and running much more smoothly. The gas form ethereals found that their atmospheric processing plants had been modified by humans who required breathing apparatus to survive in ethereal environments. The plants were now producing purer gases and operating more efficiently than ever before. Every species began to realize the same disturbing truth. The humans they had dismissed as primitive cave dwellers had been quietly holding their entire civilization together. The crude modifications and simple repairs had been keeping their advanced technology running at peak efficiency. The aliens had been so proud of their sophisticated science and advanced mathematics that they had never bothered to look closely at what the humans were actually doing. They had assumed that primitive beings could only perform primitive work. Now, They were discovering that human intuition and practical experience had produced results that their theoretical knowledge could not match. The humans had understood their technology better than they understood it themselves. As containment fields began failing and psychic networks went offline and mining operations collapsed, the proud alien civilizations faced a terrible realization. They needed the humans back, but they had no idea where the humans had gone. The galaxy was starting to fall apart, and the only beings who knew how to fix it had walked away into the darkness of space. The aliens had gotten exactly what they wanted, but now they were beginning to understand the true cost of their pride. 2 years after the humans disappeared, Admiral Kexler of the Valorian Defense Fleet received the most terrifying report of his long career. The containment fields that held back the Devourers were failing across 17 sectors of the Galactic Rim. The ancient Devourer hive mind had been contained beyond the edge of known space for over 2 centuries. These creatures consumed entire worlds, stripping away all biological matter and absorbing all technology they encountered. The early warning network and containment barriers were the only things preventing them from sweeping across the galaxy. "Sir, the containment matrix is destabilizing faster than our repair teams can respond," reported Chief Engineer Yex Nolan. "We are losing primary barriers in multiple sectors simultaneously." Kexler studied the failure reports with growing dread. Every failing system had one thing in common. They had all been maintained by human technical crews who were now gone. The Valorian engineers could not understand the human modifications well enough to prevent the cascading failures. The human modifications had used simple, mechanical components integrated with advanced quantum field generators. The combination should have been impossible according to Valorian science, but somehow it had worked perfectly for years. Now, without human maintenance, the hybrid systems were breaking down. How long until complete containment failure? Kexler asked his engineering staff. "At current rates of decay, we estimate 6 months before the first major breach," Yex Nolan replied. "After that, containment collapse will accelerate exponentially." Meanwhile, the Zheltani Collective was experiencing their worst crisis in 3,000 years. Their psychic network had lost connection to over 40% of their population. Entire star systems full of Zheltani could no longer communicate with the collective consciousness. Hive-node Supreme Kilthara stood in the center of the great neural chamber on their homeworld. Thousands of bio-neural interfaces surrounded her, but many of them flickered with unstable energy patterns. The network that had connected their species for millennia was dying. "The cascade failures are spreading," reported Subnode Velkari. "We have lost contact with 12 more worlds in the past week. The hybrid interfaces built by the humans are shutting down faster than we can replace them." The Zheltani had tried desperately to replicate the human modifications, but they lacked the necessary understanding of mechanical engineering. Their psychic abilities allowed them to manipulate bio-neural energy, but they could not bridge the gap between organic consciousness and electronic systems the way humans had done. Chief Technician Amy Stone and her human team had maintained over 300 critical interface nodes. They had created translation systems that converted psychic energy into electronic signals and back again. The Zheltani had dismissed this work as simple technical support, never realizing how complex and vital it really was. "Without the human interfaces, we cannot maintain network stability," Kilthara admitted to the Collective Council. "Our people are becoming isolated from the unity that defines our existence." The economic situation across the galaxy grew more desperate each day. The Nexari Trade Consortium had lost nearly half of their rare mineral supplies. Their quantum mining techniques, while theoretically superior, could not match the practical efficiency of human operations. Trade Minister Dexler reviewed the quarterly reports with disbelief. Human mining teams had been extracting valuable materials from asteroid fields that Nexari science had classified as worthless. The humans had found ways to process low-grade or that sophisticated alien technology could not handle. They were mining trilithium at 94% purity from rocks we considered industrial waste, Dexlerin reported to the Trade Council. Our quantum refineries can only achieve 78% efficiency from high-grade ore. The Nexari had tried to reverse engineer the human techniques, but the mining logs were written in practical terminology that focused on results rather than theory. The humans had used intuitive approaches that worked but could not be explained through conventional scientific analysis. Then came the first confirmed Devourer sighting in over 200 years. Scout Captain Felmori was patrolling the outer rim when his sensors detected an unknown energy signature. As his ship moved closer to investigate, he saw something that made his crystalline body freeze with terror. A massive Devourer harvest ship was systematically stripping a small moon of all its matter. "Command, this is Scout 7, Felmori transmitted with barely controlled panic. "I have visual confirmation of active Devourer presence in Sector 23. "Repeat, the Devourers have breached containment." The Galactic Council received the report with initial disbelief. High Counselor Vexnari insisted that the containment systems had been stable for 2 centuries. A few maintenance issues could not possibly compromise the entire network, but within days, more reports arrived. The mining colony on New Kethmar went silent during a routine communication check. When rescue ships arrived, they found the entire planet had been stripped down to its rocky core. The atmosphere was gone. All signs of life had vanished. 17. More worlds fell silent over the next month. Each time, rescue teams found the same thing. Planets reduced to barren rock with no trace of the billions of beings who had lived there. The Devourers were not just killing, they were consuming everything. The Council called emergency sessions to coordinate a military response, but they quickly discovered another problem. Without human liaison officers, the various alien species could not effectively work together. Captain Roy Mitchell had been the primary coordinator for joint fleet operations. He had spent years learning the tactical doctrines and equipment specifications of every Council species. Mitchell had created translation protocols that allowed different alien fleets to communicate and coordinate their attacks. Colonel Janet Murphy had managed the logistics networks that kept multi-species forces supplied and equipped. She had developed standardized procedures for fuel, ammunition, and spare parts that worked across dozens of different technological systems. Without these human coordinators, the alien fleets could not function as a unified force. Valorian crystal ships operated on harmonic resonance principles that interfered with Nexari quantum drives. Kethmori vessels required atmospheric conditions that were lethal to Geltani crews. "We need immediate implementation of unified command protocols," insisted Fleet Admiral Zexthara during an emergency military council. "Our species cannot coordinate effective operations without standardized communication systems." "The humans established those protocols 15 years ago," replied Nexari Battle Coordinator Kilonexus. "They created translation matrices for tactical communications and developed hybrid equipment interfaces for all our different technologies." The uncomfortable truth was becoming impossible to ignore. Humanity had been far more than just another primitive species in the Council. They had been the foundation that held galactic civilization together. Their practical approach to problem-solving had created solutions that pure theory could not match. Their ability to work with different alien technologies had made interspecies cooperation possible. Their willingness to take dangerous assignments had protected the galaxy from ancient threats. As Devourer fleets pushed deeper into Council space, consuming world after world, the proud alien civilizations faced a horrible realization. They had dismissed the beings who were actually keeping them safe and prosperous. The humans had not been primitive cave dwellers who got lucky. They had been the glue that held everything together, and now they were gone. The galaxy was falling apart, and the only beings who knew how to fix it had vanished into the darkness of space. The Council had gotten exactly what they wanted: a galaxy without humans. Now they were discovering what that really meant. The Devourer fleets consumed another 12 worlds while the Galactic Council argued about how to find the missing humans. Intelligence Director Valkyrie of the Kethmori stood before the emergency assembly with reports that filled everyone with dread. "We have searched every human colony and outpost in known space. Valkyrie announced to the panicked alien representatives. All human settlements have been abandoned but show no signs of violence or forced evacuation. They simply packed everything valuable and left. The council chamber buzzed with confused alien voices. The crystal beings made harmonic tones of distress. The gas-form entities swirled with agitated patterns. The psychic species projected waves of growing fear. "What do you mean they just left?" demanded High Counselor Vexnari. "Billions of humans cannot simply disappear. Where are their ships? Where are their colonies? Someone must have seen them leave." Valkyrie consulted her datapad with trembling hands. The proud Kethmori intelligence officer had never failed to track a target before, but humans seemed to have vanished like ghosts. "Sir, that is the disturbing part of our investigation," she replied. "We can find no record of human ship movements during their departure. No alien sensor networks detected large fleet movements. No trading posts reported unusual human activity. They disappeared without leaving any trace." Search fleets from every council species spread out across the galaxy looking for signs of human presence. The Valorian crystal ships used harmonic resonance to scan entire star systems. The Nexari quantum sensors could detect energy signatures from light years away. The Jaltani psychics tried to locate human thoughts through the consciousness field. All of them found nothing. Captain Dexlerin led the largest search fleet toward the Sol system where humans had originally evolved. Every council species expected to find Earth struggling with primitive technology and desperate for alien assistance. They planned to offer help in exchange for human expertise in maintaining galactic systems, but when the search fleet arrived at Sol, they found something that shook them to their core. Earth was still there, orbiting its yellow star exactly where it had always been, but the planet was empty. "This is impossible," Dexlerin whispered as his ship scanned the lifeless world below. "There are cities and roads and buildings, but no life signs anywhere. It is like they packed up every living thing and took it with them." The search teams landed on Earth and explored the abandoned human settlements. The cities were intact but completely empty. Power systems were shut down, but undamaged. Transportation networks were clear but unused. Even the human graves were empty, as if they had taken their dead with them. "They evacuated their entire species," reported survey specialist Ixmori from the surface of Earth. "Every human being, every pet, every piece of important technology. They left behind only basic structures and equipment that we can understand." The search expanded to other human worlds throughout the local star region. Every planet told the same story. Complete evacuation with no signs of struggle or panic. The humans had methodically removed everything that mattered to them and vanished into deep space. Meanwhile, the Devourer advance continued across the galactic rim. Their massive hive fleets consumed everything in their path, growing stronger. With each conquered world, the various council species fought bravely, but without human coordination their efforts were scattered and ineffective. The Jaltani attempted to use their most powerful psychics to locate humanity through quantum consciousness scanning. Hive Node Supreme Kelthara gathered 1,000 of their strongest mind readers in the Great Neural Chamber. "Focus your combined consciousness on the human thought patterns," she commanded. "Search every dimension of psychic space. They cannot hide billions of minds from our collective power." The assembled psychics joined their mental energy and swept across the galaxy with their thoughts. They probed every star system and every space station. They searched through hyperspace and subspace and every known dimension of existence. They found nothing. No human thoughts, no human dreams. No trace of human consciousness anywhere in the galaxy. "It is impossible," Kelthara reported to the Council with growing terror. "No species can shield their entire population from psychic detection, unless they have developed technology that we cannot comprehend." The horrible possibility began to dawn on the Council members. What if humanity had not just hidden from them? What if humans had developed science that was so far beyond alien understanding that they could manipulate reality itself? Research Teams began investigating abandoned human facilities, looking for clues about their technological capabilities. Dr. Lavra White had been working on something called dimensional engineering at a research station that other species had dismissed as theoretical nonsense. When alien scientists examined White's laboratory, they found equipment that made no sense according to established physics. Her notes described manipulating space-time at quantum levels using what she called brute force mathematics. "These calculations are impossible," declared Nexari Science Director Yex Thalar as he studied White's research files. She is describing methods for folding space-time using mechanical engineering principles. Our quantum theory proves this cannot work. But the experimental equipment in White's lab showed clear signs of successful space-time manipulation. Somehow, her impossible theories had produced working technology that could bend the laws of physics. Engineer Paul Davis had developed improvements to faster-than-light travel by combining human mechanical systems with alien energy technology. His modifications violated several fundamental principles of physics, yet his enhanced drives had worked better than the original alien designs. "They were not following our scientific methods," reported Kefmori Research Chief Villanor. "They were using intuitive approaches that ignored theoretical limitations. Somehow they made impossible things work through practical experimentation." The search teams found similar evidence at every human research facility. Humans had been developing technologies that alien science said could not exist. They had been solving problems through trial and error rather than mathematical theory. As the investigation continued, fragments of a larger truth began to emerge. Hidden in the files of abandoned human facilities were references to something called Project Exodus. The documentation was written in human technical language that was difficult for aliens to translate. Dr. Rachel Stone had been the lead scientist on Project Exodus. Her research files described something that chilled the alien investigators to their cores. Humans had not just been preparing to leave the galaxy. They had been preparing to leave reality itself. They developed methods for creating pocket dimensions, whispered Valorian science officer Zex Kalar as she reviewed Stone's notes. They learned to manipulate the fundamental structure of space-time to build hiding places outside normal existence. The final piece of the puzzle came from military archives that had been left behind by Fleet Admiral Scott Turner. The aliens had dismissed Turner as a primitive warrior, but his strategic files revealed a mind that understood galactic politics better than any council member. Turner's files contained detailed analyses of every alien species in the council. He had predicted their reactions to human departure with mathematical precision. He had calculated exactly how long galactic civilization would survive without human support. Estimated time to complete societal collapse, 4.7 years, Turner had written in his final report. Council species will experience cascading system failures as human-maintained infrastructure breaks down. Devourer containment will fail within 2 years. Recommend implementation of Dimensional Exile Protocol until Council demonstrates genuine respect for cooperative partnership. The signature on the report belonged to the human they had called a primitive military commander. But Turner's analysis had been more accurate than the predictions of their most advanced artificial intelligence systems. As the last Council worlds fell to the advancing Devourers, the surviving aliens faced the crushing truth. Humans had not been primitive cave dwellers who got lucky. They had been the most advanced species in the galaxy, and the other races had been too proud to notice. Now humanity was gone, hidden in dimensions that alien science could not even detect. The galaxy was dying, and the only beings who could save it were beyond reach. 5 years after humanity vanished, the Galactic Council existed only in name. Half the galaxy belonged to the Devourers now, and their hive fleets grew stronger with every world they consumed. The surviving alien species huddled in heavily defended core systems, watching their civilization crumble around them. Chief Analyst Vex Thani of the Kethmori sat alone in the ruins of the Council archives, reading through the final human research files. The proud alien scholar had spent months trying to understand the technical manuals that humans had left behind. What she discovered filled her with a terror deeper than the approaching Devourer fleets. Project Exodus was not an evacuation plan, she whispered to herself as she translated another page of human documentation. It was a transformation protocol. They did not leave our galaxy, they transcended it. The files described technology that went beyond anything the Council races had ever imagined. Dr. Rachel Stone and her team had not just been researching dimensional engineering. They had been preparing to move their entire civilization into a parallel layer of reality, the technical manuals read like magic to alien scientists. Humans had developed methods for folding space-time, creating pocket universes and manipulating the fundamental forces of existence. They had combined their mechanical engineering with theoretical physics in ways that produced impossible results, but the most devastating discovery was in the personal log entries that humans had left behind. These were not technical documents, but private thoughts that revealed the true depth of human understanding. Day 847 of Project Exodus, read one entry by Dr. Stone. The Council species continue to view our contributions as primitive maintenance work. They do not realize we have been quietly preventing their entire civilization from collapsing for the past decade. Another log entry by engineer Paul Davis was even more revealing. Modified 17 more alien ships today using improved FTL drive configurations. The aliens think we are just performing routine repairs. They have no idea we have increased their engine efficiency by 40% while making their ships safer to operate. Fleet Admiral Scott Turner's personal files contain the most complete picture of human activities throughout Council space. The man the aliens had dismissed as a primitive warrior had been coordinating a vast network of human specialists who were quietly holding galactic civilization together. Human technicians now maintain 87% of critical infrastructure systems, Turner had written. Our mining operations provide 63% of rare materials used in alien technology. Our coordination protocols enable all interspecies military cooperation. Our modifications have improved alien equipment performance by an average of 35%. The log entries painted a picture that shattered everything the aliens had believed about themselves. They had not been the advanced species keeping primitive humans as junior partners. Humans had been the foundation supporting everything, while the aliens took credit for human innovations. Council species demonstrate classic symptoms of technological stagnation, Turner had observed. Their science has become rigid and theoretical. They have lost the ability to innovate through practical experimentation. They mistake complexity for advancement and sophistication for wisdom. As Vexthani read through more files, she found evidence of human capabilities that went far beyond what any council race had achieved. Humans had been quietly developing sciences that the aliens could not even comprehend. Dr. Ken Walker had created psychic interface technology that allowed non-psychic humans to maintain Geltani neural networks. His notes described methods for translating consciousness into electronic signals that no Geltani scientist had ever conceived. Chief Engineer Ben Ross had redesigned Devourer containment systems using principles that combined quantum field theory with mechanical engineering. His improvements had made the barriers over 300% stronger while using less power than the original alien designs, but the most shocking revelation came in the final entries, written just days before humanity's departure from the galaxy. Council vote today classified humans as intellectually inferior and unsuitable for advanced civilization, Dr. Stone had written. Recommend immediate implementation of Exodus Protocol. They want a galaxy without human interference. We shall give them exactly what they asked for. Turner's final strategic assessment was cold and precise. Council species will experience complete civilization collapse within 5 years without human support. Devourer containment will fail. Interspecies cooperation will break down. Economic systems will collapse. Recommend monitoring from dimensional exile until they demonstrate genuine respect for cooperative partnership. The signatures on these reports belong to humans the aliens had mocked as primitive cave dwellers. But their understanding of galactic politics and technology had been far superior to anything the Council races possessed. As Vexthani finished reading the last file, alarms began sounding throughout the archive station. Devourer scouts had been detected in the outer system. The ancient enemy was approaching the last refuge of Kethmori, civilization. She transmitted her findings to the few remaining council ships scattered across the galaxy. Within hours, every surviving alien leader had access to the complete truth. About human capabilities and the real reasons for their departure, the response came as a final transmission broadcast simultaneously across all remaining systems. The message appeared in perfect translations of every galactic language, projected directly into the communication systems of every surviving ship and station. To the former Galactic Council, the message began. Humanity observes your current situation with regret but not surprise. Your civilization's collapse was mathematically predictable from the moment you chose supremacy over cooperation. The transmission continued with calm, measured words that carried more weight than any alien weapon. We offered partnership and you demanded subservience. We provided solutions and you dismissed them as primitive work. We maintained your infrastructure and you took credit for our innovations. You classified our species as intellectually inferior, while depending on our expertise for survival. You mocked our methods while benefiting from our results. You celebrated our departure while ignoring the consequences of your pride. The message paused, and every surviving alien held their breath waiting for humanity's judgment. We do not rejoice in your suffering, but neither will we sacrifice our species to preserve your arrogance. You wanted to prove your superiority by removing human influence from galactic affairs. You have succeeded. This is the result. When you are ready to rebuild your civilization on principles of mutual respect and genuine cooperation, humanity will consider returning from our dimensional exile. Until then, you must face the consequences of believing that advancement means superiority and sophistication means wisdom. The transmission ended with words that would haunt the survivors forever. You wanted a galaxy without humans. You have it. Learn to live with your choice. Their communication systems went silent and humanity returned to their self-imposed exile in the spaces between dimensions. They had built something entirely new in their pocket reality. A civilization based on cooperation rather than hierarchy. Innovation rather than tradition. The last entry in the Council's historical records was written by Vexthani herself as Devourer ships entered the Kethmori home system. Her final words captured the truth that came too late to save them. We thought we were the teachers and they were the students. We believed our ancient knowledge made us superior to their practical skills. We assumed complexity meant advancement, and age meant wisdom. But they were holding us together while we took credit for their work. They were protecting us while we mocked their methods. They were advancing beyond our understanding while we dismissed them as primitive. Our pride was our end. We wanted to be superior, so we removed the foundation that supported our entire way of life. We got exactly what we asked for, and now we understand what we have lost. The Devourer fleets consumed the last Council worlds while humanity watched from their dimensional refuge. Somewhere in the spaces between realities, humans continued their quiet evolution, building something far greater than the civilization that had rejected them. The galaxy belonged to the Devourers now, and in the empty darkness between the stars, the price of pride had finally been paid in full.